Why, hello, YouTube. Welcome back. This is Bela Mage again, and I'm showing everyone our Kinetic Blast full Magic Find solo character. This is the first time in nearly I think 3 leagues that I've tried to do Magic Find and done a pretty good job of it. I've been steering away from Magic Find the last few leagues, but with Crucible being what it is and me not wanting to interact with it anymore at all, I had to go back to my roots for money making. And I do have to say, I'm not going to go over the strategy in this. I'm doing wandering path strongbox things for anyone who knows what that is like, but any version of MF strategies the build works for, this is just for the build. I do want to say right at the beginning, the way I chose to build this build was to pull every single ounce of defense and damage that I could afford to lose out of it, and put every single bit that I could into quantity, rarity, just general Magic Find stats. So when we do jump over to the path of building, do keep in mind what I've done is I've brought the balance right down to the minimum level of damage that I need for it to feel good, and the minimum level of tank that I need to survive with a headhunter on. Which, there are more tanky ways to do this, there are more ways to get out more damage, but we've been on this path of just trying to get the most amount of quantity and rarity in and pulling power out of the build to do so. So I'm going to go over the build. Really, really fun. My favorite way to do Magic Find has always been wanding in one form or another. This was the Deadeye. I wanted to stop playing bows and start playing wands just because I like Kinetic Blast. It's fun. And also, that new MTX is like really pretty and I wanted to use it. So that's what we did. Let us jump in game and show you what's up with the character. And here's my character in game. You can see we're pretty much stuck on level 96. I quite often get to 50 or 60% before I enter a map that kills me 6 times and I lose it all. Usually we don't die 6 times. This is a cast on death portal build though. We have pulled every ounce of tankiness out that we could afford. It is worth noting that all of my maps end up looking like this. They're all 8 mod corrupted maps. I run all map mods. Absolutely nothing stops me. So sometimes right at the beginning of the map before you've got any headhunter buffs, you'll die when you're not strong yet. Absolutely fine. I would not league start anything like this. This is always going to be a bow build until you build a headhunter, because the entire idea of this is it lives off the headhunter. That's all of its defenses come from the headhunter. I actually don't need the offensive part of the headhunter, but the defensive part I do need. So you are bows until such time as you get here. So we're going to go over a few important things that I think people will like. One, we built a bow tree, or a wand tree, sorry, but it's not great. The important nodes, the ones I was after here, was increased attack speed, less global damage, and 15%. I was after those two, and I wanted a flat elemental damage. Never ended up getting it. I did end up getting attacks penetrate 10. That's good enough for me. And I built a quite juicy wand. This is Essence Tier 1, Tier 2. Crit, attack speed. Unfortunately, we got life gain on hit from the last suffix, but it'll do. So not a min-maxed one, not perfect, but it is quite good. That is a pretty important part of the build. The tree is okay, but not excessive. My shield is literally just life. Some messing with my res here, which I don't need. I actually wish this node wasn't there because I'm overcap on res and under on chaos. 10% life, and this node does nothing because I barely block ever. So this is just give my shield more life. So I do have quite a juicy shield. My venters are quite good. And we have a 10% quant, 20% rarity, minus mana there. The other important part is that we got the enfeeble on hit Sedemas, because we pulled so much defense out of the build that we were actually dying 2 or 3 times a map, and that was frustrating. getting enfeeble on hit, changed it from 2 or 3 times a map to once every 3 or 4 maps, which is still too much to level consistently, but is a much more fun playing experience when quite often you don't die in a map and occasionally there's a map that kills you. That feels a lot better. You could get a lot tankier. So we're going to go over into path building. I'll show you what we've got for damage. Now, in this path of building specifically, I'm setting the boss to no because we don't do bosses. This is not a bossing build. Also, you will notice our damage is quite low. It says only 850k, not even a mil. That is because of how Kinetic Blast works. You're going to have a minimum of 3 overlapping explosions, quite often 4, plus a projectile on a single target. So we have to look at both of those separately. So the projectile has got 800k, and then the explosions, of which there are usually 3, has around 0.5 mil. So we're looking at a total of only about 2.2 to 2.3 mil on a single target without headhunter buffs. It's definitely high enough to map smoothly, definitely not high enough to kill any of the pinnacle bosses or be screwing around with that at all. If we change the thing to pinnacle boss, it goes all the way down to 300 on the explosion and 500 on the projectile. We do not do pinnacle bosses on this. This is a magic find character, like through and through. So other important things for this build. Woke Fork is actually insane. Oh, sadly, mine never made it to level 5. That would have helped, but Woke Fork is actually insane. When there are more than one target, how this works, how Kinetic Blast works specifically, all of the explosion overlaps can overlap as many times as it can possibly hit. So if you have a target in front and you hit that with a projectile, it hits, it explodes, 4 overlapping explosions happen. You do usually hit at least 3 of those. And then also it forks out the back into 2 projectiles. If each of them hits a target and those targets are close enough, which they usually are in quite juiced maps, those overlapping explosions can hit the original target again. All the ground explosions can all overlap as many times as possible. So Woke Fork forks twice, giving us like a whole lot of hits really, really closely. Ends up doing quite good damage while you're clearing. Like in reality, you saw in the maps, even in really juiced content, even in Delirium Mirrors, all fine, wear off. It's great. So that's important. Also, this is less important, but I do like the Divergent Kinetic Blast, just because it gives you that 30% increase area after forking instead of 10% increase area all the time. But it's only the initial target that hits the one right in front that it isn't receiving the 30. That's fine to me. I'd rather have more. So we love that. We're gonna go over one thing that I think was a mistake in this build. I originally built it with a lore weave instead of a Greed's Embrace or a supported by item rarity rare chest. Now the thought behind this was that I was still just a little too squishy and I was trying to get tankier. Pre-Headhunter, this was a great idea. It came with 30 rarity, no quant, but I thought this will help. And it did, but I think once you're in a Headhunter, the lore weave is actually hurting you more than it's helping you. And if I was to continue playing this character, I would remove this and I would end up getting a +1 curse supported by item rarity rare chest, and then just have item rarity in my links as well and get my +1 curse off that chest, and that would save me 4 points here, which could go into another medium cluster because there's plenty of room for that. The budget on this build is yes, so this is not accessible to most people. I'm showing you what I'm doing. I'm not presenting it as a build guide. This is absolutely not accessible to most people. There are a few other things we could have done differently. I'm just going to go over them because people are asking. We could have gotten a decent suppression roll on our shield and also got a suppression roll on the rare chest. And if we did that, we would not have needed to use Quartz Infusion Forbidden Flame Jewels. And if I remove those, I've got 2 jewel sockets and I am already right here for the stun threshold mastery. So I would be very, very tempted to try out the new stun jewel tech on this build. I bet it would help quite a bit for tankiness. Right. Lastly, this is the most important part, and this is probably the most important part of most Magic Find builds, and it's the one that is failed at the most. So we're going to go over it. Elegant Hubris. The important part of Elegant Hubris is that we get 40% rarity in hopefully at least 2 places, but a minimum of 1 place. And also as much other stats as we can get. So in this one, I've got 40% rarity there, 80% proj attack damage here, another 80% proj attack damage here, another 40% rarity here, and 80% critical strike chance here. This one is absolutely crazy. There's the number for anyone who wants to try and snipe that. But what I am going to do is show people how to look for their own, because there are a ton of variants. You do not need the one I have. And if you're in the first 100 people to watch this video and get this far through, you might be able to pick up one of them, maybe. If you're further along than that, this jewel's gone. Don't even look for it. Instead, look for your own jewels. This will apply everywhere. So what we want to do is we want to take every 2-point node or anything that's in the thread, because 2-point nodes are reasonable and anything in the thread is 1 point. So we take every node that could give us something good that we can actually allocate. So now we've got all of them. Now we can just go find Timeless Jewel, Elegant Hubris. We don't need to pick a name because we're not doing that. We select the node you want, or the jewel socket you want, and then you go search for node. And what we can do is just look around for, here's a full list of all the nodes we could possibly get. I'm going to pick some that aren't the ones I want, just to show everyone. I can say I want critical strike multi, that goes in there. And then I also want cast speed, because that's this build. This is not for this build. I'm just saying I want crit multi and cast speed. Right? And then what we can do is search, and there's one. This number will give you 2 critical strike multis and 2 cast speeds. This one will give you 1 critical strike multi, 2 cast speeds. This will give you 2 and 1. This will give you 3 and 0. And so you get a nice list of the notables you actually want in places you can actually take. And then to take it one step further, you can copy the trade URL, and it will copy the maximum search parameters that it can. And that just copies to your clipboard, and you'll be able to just paste that in. And when you paste it into your window, it will just end up looking like this, and it'll show you all those exact combinations. It'll look for at least one of them. And then you can copy the next one in the trade URL, and it'll select the next ones, paste that into a new window, copy the next one, paste that into a new window, and then you keep looking and you copy the next one, paste that in a new window, and then you go, oh, actually the ones down here are starting to get a little bit bad. I don't want those. So you just stop there. And so that way you can look for a really cheap Timeless Jewel. That's going to be the most important part of trying to copy this if you want to, or if you're making any form of Magic Find character that isn't this one, and you've got room for an Elegant Hubris, now you know how to find it. That is everything. What I will say is that I am re-rolling off this now that I have a ton of money. And what I'm going to do, now that I have more money to spend, is I'm going to try and find myself an immortal version of a Magic Find character. I'm going to try and fit the most amount of rarity and cont that I can in, but in a character that just doesn't die. Wish me luck with that, because I'm doing it all solo. No aura, no supports, no party play. Just a character that I can play that can do quant farming in full quant and not die. That's what we're after. Because this character made me a ton of money, but I've now been playing it for over a week and I still die every 2 or 3 maps, or 3 or 4 maybe. And it's just starting to get a little old. I don't want to die anymore. So that's the next plan. All right, that is all, and I will see everybody next time. Goodbye.